Ever feel like modern movies just don't hit the same? You're not crazy. Ever notice how older movies just hit different? The shadows feel deeper, the highlights glow, and every frame looks alive. There's a reason for it. It's called dynamic range. The difference between the darkest dark and brightest brights. It is what gives an image the depth, the dimension, the drama. Film it had dynamic range in spats. That's why movies like The Godfather and Blade Runner 1982 feel so rich, cinematic. Look at those deep blacks, the face melt into the shadows, the way light curves out of the scene. Now compare that to any digital movie from early 2000s, washed up, overexposed and just lifeless. It had what it's called the video look. But here's the thing, modern digital cameras have caught up. They can match and sometimes even surpass film's dynamic range. So why do so many movies, modern movies, still look like Netflix soap opera? Because dynamic range means nothing if you can't use it. This isn't about digital versus film, because there are a lot of movies like The Wolverine, The Drive, which are shot on digital, and just look at them, beauty. And The Seven, which, surprise, was one of the first big budget movies to be shot on digital. But then what's the problem? Talent and intention. You know who made this Seven movie? David flippin' Fincher. So of course it's gonna look good. And then you have movies like The Batman, despite being shot on digital, still have beautiful shadows. It's not about the camera, it's about the intention. I think the problem isn't digital. The problem is fear of shadows, fear of contrast, a refusal to embrace what makes an image feel cinematic. Filmmakers today light their scenes too safely, afraid to let the face sink into the darkness or let highlights burn just a little too bright. Everything is evenly lit, hyper corrected and stripped out of any real texture. But cinema is about feeling. It's about using lights and shadow to tell a story, to shape a mood and to make you feel something. When you take that away, you don't just lose contrast, you lose the soul of the image. Cinematographers back then had no choice but to light their scenes with it, and because film stock demanded it. Shadows weren't just there, they were scalped, faces weren't just lit, they were painted with light. Now the digital is more forgiving, and that's the problem. People rely too much on post-production fixes instead of getting it right on set. The result, flat, uninspired lighting that makes everything feel like a Netflix original. You know the look. The Godfather used deep, dramatic shadows to emphasize power and age, and compare that to any blockbuster where faces are evenly lit, robbing scenes from their depth and emotion. And one of the biggest reasons for this flat look is CGI. Let's be real, practical effects just look better. They age like fine wine. Meanwhile, CGI heavy movies are more like milk left in the sun. Older movies had to build everything, and that gave them weight. Miniatures, matte paintings, actual sets. Nowadays, entire backgrounds are painted in post. Sure, CGI can be incredible when done right. Floaty, like actors are just standing in front of a Windows XP wallpaper. A big part of why older movies look better is because filmmakers had to think about every frame. Film stock was expensive as hell, every shot had to matter. But now you can just shoot a million takes and then fix it in post. And that leads to a decline in careful crafted compositions. Look at older films, every frame is a painting. Now it's all scanny cam, mid shots and coverage. Filmmaking feels kinda disposable, doesn't it? Is cinema doomed? Are we stuck in an era of lifeless, overly processed digital scum? Not necessarily. There are directors out there fighting for good. Denis Villeneuve, Christopher Nolan, Roger Deakins. The key isn't film versus digital. It's about making intentional choices. It's about using light and composition and practical effects with purpose. And I think all these advancements in technology just made artists lazy. Like Steven Spielberg said, the absence of limitations is the enemy of art.